This movie describes how to use the activity dividing and subdividing, constructing fractions. Here we have three number lines from 0 to 1, and our goal is to find 5/6 on each of them. Well, to do so, we have a variety of tools that come with the sketch. I'll click on the Custom Tools icon, and it reveals the tools I have available to me. I have a halves tool, a thirds tool, fourths, fifths, sixths, and sevenths, and a tool that I can use to label my fractions once I make them. Well, since I need to find 5/6, let's start by choosing the sixths tool and see what it does. So I'll click on 0, and as I move my mouse away, notice what happens. I have this segment which stretches to become smaller and larger, and no matter what its length, it's divided into 6 equal pieces. So right now I can move this endpoint anywhere I like, but I'm going to move it here to line up with 1 and click to place it. By doing so, I've divided my segment from 0 to 1 into 6 equal parts, and right here is 5/6. So to label 5/6, I'll return to my Custom Tools icon and click and hold it, and I'll choose Label Fraction. And now to label 5/6, I'll click 5, I'll click 6, and I now have this point, which is labeled 5/6, and I will move right here to 5/6 on my number line, and I'll click to place my point. Okay, so that was one way to find 5/6. Let's see if I can use my tools to find another way. Well, let's try, instead of using sixths, to use the halves tool. So I'll choose halves from my custom tool choices. And now on my second number line, I'll click 0. And when I move my mouse, this time I have a stretchy segment that's divided in half. And once again, let's move this right endpoint so it coincides with 1, and I'll click to place it. So now I've divided my segment from 0 to 1 in half. So how can I now find sixths? Well, I'll return here to my custom tools, and let's see, if I take my halves and I divide each half into thirds, that should give me sixths. So I'll choose thirds, and I'll click on 0. And this time, instead of clicking on 1, let's instead move this stretchy segment divided into thirds so that its endpoint lands at 1/2. And let's do that one more time. I still have my thirds tool selected, so I'll click on 1/2, and I'll come over here to 1, and now I've used my thirds tool twice to divide my halves into sixths. And once again, I could use my label fraction tool to label 5/6 and place that on my number line. One more method that I might try is, instead of starting with halves, let's start with thirds, and I'll divide my segment from 0 to 1 into thirds. And this time I'll come back and I'll choose halves, and I'll divide each of my thirds in half, going from 0 to 1/3, from 1/3 to 2/3, and from 2/3 to 3/3. And once again, there's 5/6. To check my answer, I will click the Show Answer button, and I see I solved the problem correctly. And each page of this sketch comes with different challenges. Here, for example, I need to find 2/10. And if I choose, when I reach a page, I can press New Problem, and that gives me different problems. In this case, different fractions, all with denominators of 10. And each of these pages moves me on to different challenges, all the way up to 35ths. And when I reach the Make Your Own page, this is where I can create a problem for my friend. I can replace these question marks here with a fraction. For example, maybe I want my friend to find 11/35. So there, now we have the problem ready for my friend to solve.